So we're now going to visualize a sequence, and the sequence we're going to visualize is the following. So we're going to make a plot, and it's 1 divided by 2 to the n, where n goes from 0 to 9. To do this, we need to use an external package, and this external package comes with all Python installations. So all we need to know is its name, and it's called matplotlib.pyplot. And as is usual, we give this package a shorter name now that we import it. So we import it as PLT. So this means whenever we write PLT, we're accessing stuff from this package. So first, when you want to plot something, you're plotting actually pairs of x and y coordinates, okay? And let's call our x coordinates A. So now we just want n to be from 0 to 9. So now I'm just putting here n. So that's the formula for what I want to be inside of A. And I'm doing here for n in range 0 to 10. So this gives me the sequence 0 through 9. So if you don't believe me, I can do print here. So this will be my x-axis, so to speak. And now I want the y values that belong to this. So then I'm doing now 1 over 2 to the power n for n in range 0 to 10. But now I'm getting a vector that's of the same length, but now contains values from this sequence. And what I do now could not be any easier. So now I just do PLT. So I'm accessing this package. And then I'm doing plot. And then I'm putting here my list of x coordinates, my list of b coordinates, and then I press play on tape. Oops. And now, as happens really often when you do programming, you messed up something. And here Python says that this is not a valid syntax. This is not something I'm allowed to write. I forgot to put n here. So when Python crashes, it's really important to take the time to try to see what it is he's trying to tell you. And this little hat here is telling me that something here does not make sense to Python. So let's run it again. And now I'm getting this. So, well, this is not actually the plot we're after, right? Because we're trying to plot a sequence. That should be a bunch of dots. So what happens here is that if we don't tell Python anything else, he's actually thinking that we're trying to plot a function. So he's putting dots at these coordinates that I've indicated to him, but then he's trying to connect the dots. So that's actually his default mode. So now we have to put an extra option here to say that we want blue dots that are formed as, let's say, circles. So you can find the lists online or wherever if you Google of what letters you can put here and what they mean. So now we're getting the sequence here. And it's in fact, so I can put R here, it will now be red. And instead of circles or big dots, I can put small dots like this. I can put X's like this. Let's turn them green like this. Let's turn them yellow like this, or I guess my preferred blue. There are also more advanced ways of getting exactly the color you wish, or exactly the width or the thickness you want. If you don't like how this looks, you can use a bunch of options. You can say there's one thing I haven't written here. So PLT show, you should always write, because show kind of puts like the end. So whatever stuff I put here, basically, it will affect this graph. And when I put PLT show, we're basically telling Python that, okay, fine. Now we're done with this graph, we're showing this graph, and anything you do after this, it will start creating a new graph until you write PLT show, and that's kind of the end of the second guy. And then you can start yet another graph. Now, this is a very crude way of treating this pyplot package. There is a much more fancy way of doing this where you treat your plot as a variable. But we will never need this. So if you want to go all in on this, there's just a million things to read and you can make your graphs as nice as you want. But for us, we can kind of go the easy route. So what can I do with this thing to make it look nicer? Let's see. So PLT ylim, it will change what we see on the y-axis, the range. So by default, it kind of tries to show us a range that contains all of our points. So we're going here from a little bit below 0 to a little bit above 1. So I can go even further below 0 and further above 1, like this. If I want my x-axis to show me something else, let's go from -10 to 10. Why not? So I mean, it's not looking any better, but you know, I have the freedom to do this. I can do PLT grid, and then I write true. I activate it. If I write false, I deactivate it. I can change the spacing of these tick marks. So I can do plt x ticks. And then I can just put here a list of where I want the tick marks to be. So at 2, 6, and 8, why not? Makes no sense. And I can do plt y ticks similarly. I can put labels here. So plt y label, then a string, I suppose, so I can write here y-axis like this. I can put plt x label to get the x-axis. I can put plt title here. So my graph like this. And finally, I can save my figure. I can use plt save fig. And then I just write the file name here. So my graph.jpg. And the kind of the fun thing here is that when I write .jpg here, it actually tries to save it as a JPEG. And apparently this was successful. And I can find the file in this directory. I can try to save it as a GIF. And then I get an error. So GIF is not supported. And then it gives me a list of the supported formats. So I can choose any one of these, and that's fine. So now let's do one last fun little thing. What I can do here is at the beginning, or well, before I start my plot, I can write here with plt xkcd like this, and I can run it. Oops. So here I'm getting an invalid syntax. He wants this here. I think it'll crash again now, because now I need to indent. So I'm doing one tab everywhere here. So if you're using the with command, then for the with command to be activated, you need to indent everything. So don't think about this. I'm just trying to show a little fun thing here. And now, if you're using this command, it's trying to write every graph as if it was part of the XKCD cartoons. So that's kind of fun. And when you're sick and tired of this, just write here reset, and it'll go away. So now I can take this away, unindent everything, and now I get my usual graphs back. So that's a little bit about the ins and outs of plotting lists in Python.